And go.
All right. We are in Parashat, which one? Chukat. Parashat Chukat. There's so much to concentrate on, so much to talk about this week's parasha. But I want to talk about somebody that we usually don't talk about, and that's Aaron HaKohen, Aaron the priest. Aaron was able to teach basically a whole entire nation a certain concept of leadership. Who said concept? You said concept? Very good. Certain concept of leadership. And and let's see exactly what it is, because I think it's very important and yet very applicable to our times. And I think to all of us, to a certain extent. So I was just telling the guys that I couldn't find the appropriate terminology for the Hebrew concept of Rodef Shalom. If I'm going to take this concept and explain it, Rodef Shalom is a person who chases after or chases peace. But in Hebrew, it's an expression. In English, it doesn't really exist. If you look, it's going to be pacifist. It's going to be a peaceful person, but it doesn't really explain or express what this concept is all about. But roughly, if we're going to refer to Aharon as Rodef Shalom, is a person that pursues peace. Let's call it this way. Huh?
Peacemaker.
It's not a peacemaker.
Seeker.
I don't know. Maybe seeker. What? Fighter? No, yeah. We won't say. You know what it is to fight for peace? It's like, yeah. That's not what I'm talking about. And yet this tool that Aaron is able to teach us, I think that anyone who is in any position, whether you're a manager or you are owner or you are a parent or whatever it is, must acquire, must have. And that is basically knowing or developing the ability to read the emotions of your fellow man. What is exactly is he going through? To understand what is the internal motive and the hidden internal motive that stands at the basis of every behavior of the person that stands in front of you, whether it's your worker or your spouse or anything like that. To really understand the emotional intelligence of your fellow human being. And if you look at this and you make the statement, you will see that most, call it managers, already failed in that arena. I mean, they're already out of this. Needless to say, of course, presidents and prime ministers that must understand or must acquire that tool. But those who actually know this secret and able to implement it will be able to become admirable leaders, principals, managers, whatever you want. Now, if we are talking about leadership and what we call about true leadership, so we always said, of course, a person must have a vision if you want to have a leader. Otherwise, you're going to be led by the people instead of you leading the people. But having a vision is not enough by all means. So true leadership is not, and I'm emphasizing, is not determined by your ability to control, how much control you have over the people. Then you're a dictator, you're not a leader. It's not measured by the amount of honor that you're being, I wouldn't say getting, but seeking. Authority, how much, teeth you have to your leadership. None of the above. True leadership is the ability, and maybe you should write it down or remember this, is the ability to develop people, to bring about them, from regular people, abilities that are exceptional. And that has and that each one of us has, everybody has it. The true leader is the person who is able to utilize those abilities to bring them up and to actually show it to you. True leader is the person that develops the people, that brings them to places in which they did not even dream that they could reach, or altogether they didn't even know that they can reach them. He brings you up to there. And it's a leader that naturally, because of that, society will group around him. He's going to be the core of condensation of society. That's the person who brings about the best in you. People like this are going to be the true leaders, even if you remove any title for them. They don't need titles to become leaders. They just do it because they're natural in that. Or they don't have any given authority or any kind of royalty, measures to them. They just be that, and they'll bring about the best in you. One of those leaders who was like that, and he's a tremendous example. And there's different types of leadership. And Aaron HaKohen was probably one of those what we call quiet leadership. Aaron is, I think, the first example of what a quiet leadership is all about. He was the Kohen Gadol. We all know that. He was the brother of Moshe. However, even though he was the Kohen Gadol and it is his duty as a Kohen Gadol, he was in charge of all the ceremonies, the rituals in the Mikdash or in Oel Moed, and everything was there. However, if you really look carefully inside, you would see that he did not have any authority, any power whatsoever. He was in charge that things will be done like this. He did it, but he, as being the Kohen Gadol, he had no power. What the power that he has? If you look at it, the political leadership was in the hands of Moshe Rabbeinu. The judicial leadership was in the hands of the Zkenim, in which were implemented by Yitro. The whole judicial system, it was implemented by Yitro. So what did the Kohen Gadol have? Really nothing. And it's, I think, important for us to analyze this and to realize what exactly is happening, because we are in a period of uncertainty, and especially in a period of uncertainty, you need a different type of leadership. You don't need General Patton to go and get you out. You need a different type of leadership. The leadership in which will give you the necessary calm to continue to operate. Not those who would instigate and will bring more fire and so on and so forth. And that's why I don't have a lot of respect to, or I don't count much, a lot of the current politicians from right or left who take the situation as we are in terms of uncertainty, and they're trying to bring about the flames, so the other guy would fail, but together with that, the whole society altogether. Whoever they will. I don't care if it's a Democrat, I don't care if it's a Republican, I don't care if it's from the Likud or from Meretz, in Israel. I want a leader that will be able to give the people the confidence and the quiet in which they need to come out of this uncertainty. In other words, I need a leadership who will give them clarity, not chaos. It's the same letter, it's not in the same letter, but there is all this completely different. Clarity versus chaos. And uncertainty means because we can't see what needs to be done. We don't know how to operate. We don't know what's going on. All of a sudden you find friends against, one friend against the other, brother against one brother. That's not a good place that we're going to. So in this parasha, in Parashat Chukat, it describes the death of Aaron HaKohen, which, it's a whole story to talk about to begin with, but we won't do it now. it tells us about collective mourning of the whole entire nation that really took 30 days. The whole entire nation grieved Aaron for 30 days, which was not the case of another leader, which was a feminine leader, which was Miriam. Not because she was a woman, they didn't grieve her for 30 days, but it was a different style of leadership and something very, very particular about Aaron that was different. So what was the koach of Aaron that turned him into such a leader without authority, without any kind of title and so on and so forth? So Rav Yitzchak Arama wrote a sefer. Very good. Tells us that Aaron was Rodef Shalom. In other words, he chased after peace. He pursued peace in everything that he did. So it says that not only he would make peace between, and I'm using again the term peace, even though you know that the word shalom does not represent peace. But for this level, it will be peace. But shalom is much more than that. It says, he brings that not only he brought peace among those people when they had a fight or they were arguing, but he already felt when there was about to be an incident, when things are about to escalate, they didn't develop yet, he was already pursuing peace and preventing fights from happening. I mean, that is a leader, which is very, very important to understand. A leader has his hand on his pulse of those people all the time. So when he sees that the pulse start to spike, he will go in right away. Preventive medicine. He was the acupuncturist of emotional and social relationship of the nation.
Risk management.
Risk management. He was preventive management, right? So he says, he understood that the emotion is very fragile, and he makes sure to actually enhance them and put them together. And he was the one, Aaron was the one who would initiate this whole maneuvering. Each one personally, he will go to this one and will go to the other one, and basically making sure that the fight and the quarrel would not even take place. Now you can't do that when you're sitting down in your golden tower, on an ivory tower, on a chair, removed from all the people. You need to be among the people. You need to see what's going on. And I do think that, in modern day leadership, the way we have it, and it's not only here, it's all over the world, is so far removed from the pulse of the people to see what the people need, not just what they want, what they need. That's why we have such a catastrophe basically almost anywhere in the world. Because the leaders that we have today in the world are the complete opposite of what Aaron. He was with the people all the time. He wasn't one of the guys who was going down to have beer with the guys and hanging around together. But he was among them. He felt them. He heard what they say. He felt when the wind was blowing, and then he made sure that it will go into the right direction. Show me somebody that was like this, or is like this recently. I don't know, I can't recall. People are so removed that it's creating a problem, because then the masses operate with no guidance, with no inspiration, and it's a catastrophe. Aaron was not like that. So, and if you take, of course, if you take the Jewish nation, everybody says when we have two Jews, you have four different opinions. So imagine a nation at the time of, let's say, like 3 million people. It's quite, it's very difficult. It's a big challenge. But yet, Aharon, while he was alive, with all those opinions and points of view and so on and so forth, there was still peace and harmony between one another. It doesn't mean that you all have to think the same way. That's terrible. That shows that you're not functioning. You could think different. And if you think different than me, it doesn't mean, well, maybe not in this case, but it doesn't mean that you are wrong. It means that just to have a different opinion. If he has a different opinion than him, it doesn't mean that one of them is wrong. Just they have different opinions, and that's all coming from self-respect, respecting the free choice that the other person has. I understand that he has a free choice. Even though I don't agree with his decision, I respect his free choice, and that's his choice. That's his, why not? As much as I'm allowed, you're allowed. Live and let live in the most positive way, not in the negative way that people say today. So, such a social leadership to take responsibility on the environment around you in terms of the people and the nation and whatever is going on in society, to go really truthfully, to do the good, to do well, and to push everybody together one step further to become better, that is a leader. And that is a leader that, again, doesn't need titles, doesn't need anything. That's a true leader. There's another thing that we should pay attention, as we said, about what is a good leader, a good manager, a good boss, whatever you want to have it. As we said before, to be able to read the feelings and the emotion of the other person, and also to understand his what is standing at the basis of his behavior, the hidden, the unrevealed motive for his actions. And unfortunately, even psychologists don't do that. Hey, psychologists. Even psychologists don't do that. Because they also have their own agenda. You need to be a completely different person in order to understand what it really, what's boiling under the surface. And what's the cause for that? What is the motive for that? Or whoever it is, and then it could be a worker, it could be another human being standing in front of you, the way they behave. In other words, as we said, called it before, the emotional intelligence. So if Aaron would meet, for example, a guy, says, "What are you arguing with another guy?" Right? Or what's the fight? Or what's going on? So the answer would be, I don't know, this guy did something bad for me. I don't know, he built up a tall building and closed my view, and put some shrubs that bother me. It doesn't take, there's always something. And of course, today we would go and we said, okay, well, sit down, you pay him a little bit of this, you pay him a little bit of that, some kind of a thing, and we'll work out, right? But, and we'll compromise, we'll make some kind of, how do we call this? Mediation. We'll mediate. Okay, you give a little bit, you give a little bit. But to really understand what's really the cause of that, what's the emotional aspect of that nobody does. That nobody does. Like, for example, sometimes it's jealousy. Sometimes you're just jealous of the other person. Sometimes it's just overly competitive. And again, being too competitive is because you're jealous or greedy, or maybe you were insulted. And we know when we say the Misha Berach at the end of Tfilah Shabbat, we say, "V'yasir Hashem mitochechem sin'ah, kin'ah, v'tachut." Sin'ah, kin'ah, v'tachut. Let me just tell you something. You said sinat chinam. Okay? To hate, any kind of hate, is in vain. Sinat chinam is to hate somebody in vain.
Baseless.
There's no reason to hate anyone. There's no reason to hate anyone. And how do I know that? Because the Torah says that. And we learn this from the fight that Yitzchak had with Plishtim. We know when Yitzchak went to Avimelech, everything was flourishing them. And they hated him for that. They hated him because he was flourishing. And he was giving. They benefited also. And so is anti-Semitism. There's no reason for that.
Just like Amalek.
I'm sorry? Just like Amalek. Exactly it. That's why Amalek is not specific nation. According to my opinion, it is rather is a nation that takes the characteristic of Amalek, and every generation there's another nation that does it. There's no point. I mean, why? I mean, we lack of resources. Let's share them. Let's do things together. Share them. It's not I'm going to share the money that you earn. But if you have oil and I have brains, let's put our brains and our oil together to make something good. That's the whole purpose. That's what it is. So we says, sin'ah, kin'ah, v'tacharut. These are the three worst things that motivate us to do horrible things. And you find them all in the. You find them all on the last 5 of the 10 Commandments, which really all correspond with the first side of them, and mainly the concept of I'm God. If I'm jealous at you, means I disacknowledge that God gave you what He gave you and gave me what He gave me. He gave you. I mean, if you have, you have a belly and I don't. No, I'm just kidding. If you, whatever it is that you have that I don't have, well, that's because that was God's will. So if I resent that, I resent God. So this is why it's so bad. So if a person, so Aaron was a kind of a person that knew exactly what hurts, and he would point the finger at exactly why it hurts, and it would heal that point. He knew that the reason why he built the big house is because he's jealous at this guy that has a wonderful relationship with his wife. So he would not say, okay, pay him money, because that would not going to resolve the problem. It would not resolve the problem. He will go to what caused him, what's the underlining of the issue. That's what Aaron would do. And once you're able to realize what is the underlining, everything else around us is just like, static noise. It has really nothing to it. And that's the problem. We need to understand what's the underlining, not anything else. And, you'll see it also the other way around. People do a lot of things, and you say, 1 second. Again, I told you this, and I'll tell you this again. One of my favorite Musar stories was not written by a Jewish person. How about that for a statement? It was written by Hans Christian Andersen, and it's The Emperor's New Clothes. If you don't know what it is, read it. And if you come to the little boy, that's me. I feel like the little boy in Hans Christian Andersen's story. So when people do things, everybody's doing, so what's the underlining? Why, even when they're doing good, supposedly good things, why are they doing that? If you're talking about, Ariel Sharon, right? The big right-wing war machine, right? They even made a song about him. He doesn't stop in red. You're moving the table when you scratch. It's okay. People will. So, all of a sudden, when he became prime minister, he returned Gush Katif. Why? So everybody would say, because he came to the realization that that's what needed to be done for peace. Yeah, right. You know why? He had an investigation about to be launched on him. So he gave Gush Katif. Everybody forgot about it. Then he got a stroke, and then goodbye, good luck. We're stuck without Gush Katif. That's why. What's the underlining? When you donate money to shul, do you really go donate money for the sake of the shul because you care about the shul, or because you want your name to be announced? The more they announce your name, you know the rest. Just like they brought the gold to the Mishkan. That's what it is. It's all in what is your underlining for your actions. And that's something that we should all look very, very carefully, first of all, on ourselves. Why are we doing what we're doing? Why is that we're doing it like that? Are we really truthful? Yes or not? And you'll see exactly why later on. So, if you have a case, for example, and this is a tremendous example, you have a case of a younger brother, Moshe, taking a higher position of the older brother, right? Which is, again, something very common, which will be our own, very common in the Torah. We had Cain and Hevel. We had Yitzchak and Ishmael. Ishmael was shooting arrows at him, trying to harass him, trying to do so. Yaakov, got Birkat Shamayim, right? And not Esav the Bechor and Yosef, and yeah, you like Yosef, huh? Yosef and so on and so forth, but not always it was the result, the same thing as Moshe and Aaron. Sometimes, and most of the time, and actually in all these times, it was quite catastrophic. So, look, it fell. But Moshe and Aaron was different. Moshe and Aaron was different. And there's a sefer in Tehillim Perek
Kuf, Chaf, Yudbet.
Kuf Lamed Gimel.
Zakan Aaron.
Lazakan Aaron. It's a famous song. We're going to sing it all together.
Shevet Achim Gam
That's right. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, how good it is, u'manayim, and how pleasant it is, shevet achim gam yachad, that the two brothers were able to sit together. That was said about Aaron and Moshe. It's a beautiful thing. What greater thing for a father that his children get along with one another. So, and we see that, for example, the way Aaron acted in Chet HaEgel. When they did the Egel, it says later on, the Midrash tells us, Vayar Aaron. And therefore, what did Aaron say? The Midrash says, Amar Aaron, Im bonim hem oto, asirachon nitla bahem. If they're going to build the golden calf, therefore the stench is going to be on them forever. So what did Aaron did? It says, Mutav itale asirachon bi, velo bi Israel. Better off I would be stained than the Jewish people would be stained. This is Vaikra Rabbah. So this kind of dismissal of Aaron for the sake and for the better of everybody, of the klal, we also find when he became a Kohen Gadol. He became a Kohen Gadol. He didn't say like Korach, hey, hello, how about me? Right? He ran away from it. He ran away from that until it says in Tanchuma, where Tanchuma? Tzadik Vav Yud, right? It says, Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, Pater oto bedvarim. Try to talk to him. Why? Lefi shaya borech min asra. He says, I don't want this. Why do I need this kavod? But not like these people who say, oh, sir, please say to me, oh, who, me? Me? No, me, who am I? Who am I? Guys, not this kind of fake humbleness. Truthful. He says, why do I need this? It's not me. Lo tzarich, lo tzarich, lo tzarich. And we see the same thing. This kind of behavior was true with Aaron also when he dealt with the people. It says in Avot de Rabbi Natan in Perek Lamed Zayin Yud Bet. Lamed Zayin Yud Bet. Guys, you're weak. Ve'eno nichnas ledivrei chavero. Ze Aaron, a person that does not cut his fellow human being, his fellow Jew short. Doesn't go into his word. Lets everybody finish talking, gives the people the kavod in which they deserve. And again, this kind of behavior comes from a place of understanding who is the person in front of you, that he is also Totzar Yadav Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He is a product of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he himself, just like you, have a spark in him straight from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He is not better than you. You are not better than him. We are all the same, with different jobs. He was not alienating people. He tried to find what's good and what's coming about people. He was a true Yerei Shamayim. A person who is Yerei Shamayim is not a person who stands in a corner and davens and screams and sheds his peot like this and does all kind of crazy things. A person who is Yerei Shamayim is a person that practices V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha in all his ways. In all his ways. Aaron was that example. It says, and what is that? ולא נכנס דרך חברו, זה אהרון ששתק עד שסיים משה את דברו, ולא אמר לו קצה דבריך, no, it's finished already. He didn't say it, he let his brother talk. And so it says למשה, ואחר כך אמר משה, הן הקריבו. He let Moshe yell at him. You know, when Nadav and Avihu, he let him yell at him, and then he says, listen, they already did it. He didn't stop in the middle and say, what are you talking about? You know, like this. He let Moshe finish. He said, you done? Okay, let me explain to you. They already brought the korban. So Aaron was Ohev Shalom. He loved peace, and he pursued peace. He says, Ohev et abriot. He loves the people. See, Ohev. He loves people. Umekarvan la Torah, and brings them closer to the Torah. Excuse me. And how would he do kiruv? You know, so that's a very touchy situation today. Kiruv organization is a big thing. For whatever reason, I'm not going to get into it now. But how kiruv is really being done? Are we doing kiruv the right way, or we could do it better? How do we do kiruv? Somebody will go and say, let's do kiruv. I know, we'll give him a rabbi, talks to him about hell and heaven, burn, this, that. The other one says, this kind of style of kiruv. The other one is the other style of kiruv. But how Aaron did kiruv? Let's learn from him. It's right there. Let's learn from Aaron. Aaron did it in a different ways. It says also in Avot de Rabbi Natan, Yud Bet, it says, מעולם לא אמר אהרון לאיש שסרחת ולא אישה שסרחת. He would never go to a person, he said, you sinner, you burn hell, you woman, you know, he never did that. He never did it. He never tried to put anyone down. What he was doing instead of that, he would say, I don't know if he said anything. Of course, the question will be, how do you make a person, because it says Masir Avon, how you remove the Avon from a person. So it says in Sefer Malachi, Perek Bet, Verabim Yeshiv me'avon. He made many people to become Choser B'tshuva. Yeshiv me'avon. In other words, they were doing something wrong, and then he made them go back. So how did he do it? How can you do so without rebuking people, without scaring people, and so on and so forth? So he says, כשהיה אהרון מהלך בדרך, when Aaron used to walk, ופוגש איש, it says a person, and that person was Adam Rasha, ונתן לו שלום, right? He says hi to him. למחר, tomorrow, the next person, ביקש לעבור עבירה, he wanted to do an עבירה. אמר, אוי לי, oh my goodness, I can't do this. Why? האח אשא עיניי אחר כך ואראה את אהרון. I'm going to look later on at Aaron in the face and says hello. I mean, it's embarrassing. In other words, Aaron was so special that even those who would do averot, he tried to connect with them in what's good in them, not in what's bad in them. And by doing so, accepting the people and telling them, listen, how are you? Not just going to, to a big rabbi and chasing after him, or a rich person, yeah? How are you? How's everything? Is everything okay? Tzaddik, pillar of the community, diamond in the rough. He never say those things. He went to the guy who was smoking on Shabbat. I don't know if they smoked yet. They didn't smoke it, but whatever, you get the drift. He says, how are you? How are you? I know a guy, I forgot which rabbi it was. He said he became Choser B'tshuva because of this. I don't remember who it is, so please forgive me. He said he used to smoke on Shabbat all the time. And he said he was so brazen. They used to stand outside of the shul and smoke like this. So one time the rabbi came to him. He didn't tell him, how do you do this? How dare you? Shabbos! He didn't say that. He said, how are you? How's everything? Is there anything I can do for you? And so on and so forth. He said, the first time, he said, from that Shabbat and on, I stopped smoking, and then I started coming to shul. It's crazy. It's not for nothing they say you catch more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. I'm not saying bend backwards. You need to have a spine. You need to have a tremendous character, a tremendous presence to to be able to look into a guy and then treat him like a human being, or just like you wanted to, without any alienating him. And sometimes we alienate people by feeling that we are keeping the mitzvot and they are not, and we are better. We're not better. Because I don't know if we were giving the tests that those people were facing, if we would have stand there, or we would probably worse. I'm looking at the fact that we are lucky to be put in a situation that we not be tested, rather than those people who miskinim, it's terrible. And yet, they somehow have to have ability to do good. That was Aaron. That's what Aaron did. By sweetness, he had the presence, he knew, and that's why he would walk around the people. Because he had a backbone, he had the Torah and Halacha backbone to be able to go among the people, to influence the people by radiating good, rather than being influenced by the people by observing bad. And that's something we need to develop. And that's something that, believe me, everybody can. Everybody can do that. So therefore the person says, Boshti himeno shenatan li shalom. I was embarrassed just by the fact that Aharon said to me, Shalom, how are you? Imagine a guy like Rav Ovadia used to go, it's amazing what Rav Ovadia used to do. Rav Ovadia was a genius since he was there. He used to go to Shuk Machane Yehuda. I mean, Rav Ovadia, yes, before he was chief rabbi, but still, he was already a Shem Davar b'Yerushalayim. He used to go Shuk Machane Yehuda, and he used to do, he used to learn with Balabatim. Somebody told me, he said, they're old generation, the people that maybe already 80. He said, believe me, they knew how to learn Ritva. Rav Ovadia learned with them, slowly. Ritva and this, better than many people in Yeshiva. Well, so what, because he works in the market, he's not capable? But that's what a leader is. Rav Ovadia was one like that. Many rabbis were like this. But that's what we need. So Aaron used to tie a rope around himself, and he used to go knocking on the Jewish people's door. And it says, whoever did not know, he used to teach them. He said, do you know how to say Kriyat Shema? No. Okay, let me teach you Kriyat Shema. Kriyat Shema is the battle cry of every Jew. Every Jew should know Kriyat Shema. And yet, unfortunately, there are many secular people in Israel that they don't know Kriyat Shema. And what are we doing? We're talking about more votes or more seats in the Knesset. I said it many years ago. We should close the yeshivot for one time, for one seder, 1 year, and everybody should go out. Et la'asot l'Hashem eferu toratecha. Everybody should go out and do maaseh chesed all over Israel. You see a person with a kippah, you know that's a chesed. You need something, he'll help you. Imagine what revolution we could make in 1 year. And then the free time go learn Torah at night. But we should be out there with the people. And that's our job as people who come to learn Torah. We need to be out there with the people. Guide the people. Don't get into political arguments and agendas and policies and stuff like this. Be the one that everybody comes to. Everybody seeks advice. Help people whoever they are, whatever they are. Because they're people. And there's something that says about you wearing this thing on your head and wearing the tzitziot on your clothes. It means something. You know what's Kiddush Hashem? Kiddush Hashem is not doing those crazy actions of faith. Kiddush Hashem is sanctifying God's name in every action that you have around the day. Every single thing. We could do it. And that's what Aaron was doing. He will go and teach people Kriyat Shema, right? And ומי שאינו נכנס בגופה של תורה היה מלמדו. A person who doesn't know any Torah, he will sit down and learn with him. Imagine Aaron, Aaron. He goes to Kodesh HaKodashim, to the Holy of Holies. He says to the guy, okay, say after me. מתי מברכים את, He would do it. So what's the problem? It's less than me. It's that's my job to teach the people. He didn't feel that it's making him less by going to help and teaching people Torah. Why do we feel like that? Oh, it's not this. I want to be in the top shiur. What does that mean, the top shiur? I think the top shiur should be the guys who are most capable, that they should go down. If you're in the top shiur, you're in the wrong place. What do I mean? If you reach a level, let's say you're going to yeshiva and you're learning, and then there is the top shiur, right? The Navy SEALs of the yeshiva, the Delta Force of the yeshiva. You know what they do there? They don't learn. They go down and teach others. I think that's what a top shiur should be. Because if you're already in the top, where are you going to go? Up to heavens? Go down to bring the people up. Many times in my career in yeshiva and so on and so forth, I was offered to give the top shiur here. I said, no, I want the guys that nobody wants. Give me the bottom shiur. The guys that nobody, I'm going to show you that they become the best. And I believe in that. It's almost my idea, it's Aaron's idea. I really believe in that. I believe that anybody could become much more than he can imagine that he can. I mean, listen, the two of you, you guys finished Masechet Yevamot, all by yourself. And I don't know if you noticed, the only time Masechet Yevamot, I did not get involved with you in the morning, deliberately. Why? To show yourself that you can do it. If you come, of course, every day. You have the ability to do it. Yeah, here and there we were, but that's exactly, did you ever think that you will finish all Seder Moed in the Gemara? It's a third of the Gemara. With Shabbat and Eruvim and Psachim, you dreamt that you'll finish all the Masachtot that you did here. I mean, if you take all the Masachtot, since you guys been to yeshiva, until now, I mean, in our yeshiva, it's like half a Shas is gone. And now you're going to learn Seder Nashim all over again. Did you ever dream that you're going to do that? So it's not me proving to you. I'm trying to, you prove to yourself that you can. And so is everybody else. And that's what I truly believe in. For me, that's Kiruv. And because Aaron was doing that, and what's the underlining of Aaron? The underlining of Aaron is simply Kavod to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, honor to God. Bring everybody close to Hashem as much as he can. So, because of that, because he was so selfless, he got tremendous appreciation from Am Yisrael. As it says, "Vayifku oto kol Beit Israel." Every single Jew mourned the death of Aaron. Everyone. There wasn't a guy who said, Baruch shepataranu, thank God for him gone. Everybody cried him. Everybody. That is a leader. So, being as it may, the fact that you're going to be bosses, managers, fathers, and so on and so forth, you're going to be working with people, and you have to remember that first of all, these are they're not anything else, but first of all, they're humans, they're people, and they have urges, and they have wishes, and they have aspirations, and they have whatever, they have dreams, and the more that we're going to be able to understand and to comprehend and maybe provide them with those things and to understand we're going to get better workers and better Jews and better children and so on and so forth. And especially children. We need to understand that our children have their own wishes and dreams of what they want to be. They are not another tool in our chess playing or a chess board. They play their own game. And you try to make your kids the best that they could be, not what you want them to be, but what's the best. And we don't do so in schools, and we don't do so as parents. Many times we fail. So, as we said, and this is a time of uncertainty, and we need a different type of leadership, and that's leadership that should be the wheel, the oil in the wheel, the grease in the wheels that gets things going in order to be able to build a tremendous strength, a muscle strength of our organization that is unified and harmonized between all branches of that, whether they're workers and managers, parents and children, senators and leaders of the nation and the people, to be able to overcome everything that is on our way. And you need a tremendous expertise of understanding the emotions and the motives of people. And you could only learn that when you are willing to give up on your own self as a selfish being. And that is only a person like that, only a person like this, that has also internal peace and internal harmony, is the person that is the kind of person that is motivated. But what? Ahava, achva, shalom ve'reut. A person that his fuel is ahava. First of all, love. First of all, oneness. Ahava, achva, unity. That he sees everybody as a part of the whole. His goal is to unite, unity, not to separate and conquer. To unite people. Shalom, to bring peace. Ve'reut, and harmony and friendship. Only a person like that is able to become the true leader. Not a person who is motivated from hate, jealousy, competitiveness. Only a person like that can bring peace. Shalavi shalom ben adam lechavero. And these are the things, one of the things. Avat shalom ben adam lechavero. What is it? Dvarim she'en lahem shi'ur. For that, there's no measure. In other words, you have to go as hard as you can, as far as you can, without any measure, to reach and pursue that harmony between one person and the other. This is the kind of leadership we need. This is the kind of leaders that you all could become. Shabbat Shalom.